This is a Singer 66K, and this is a video about the old style tensioner that you see here. And it is used on the Singer 66 and the Singer 99. And it is somewhat different from the later versions with a dial on them. So we will cover how to make them assemble right and to make improvement and adjust the check spring and so on. And now I'll dismantle the unit. So take out the beehive springs and these parts. And now you can see that the check spring is fastened there. This is another tensioner with a gear part here, and if you got that, the check spring can come off like that, and you need to skip the next part of the video because it is dismantled in another way. And from this point we take a screwdriver and hold it to the back here, and then you turn it and then you loosen the post. So then we can, when you take off this post, then be aware that you got a small pin there, so you don't lose it. It's the tension release pin. And then I shall take out the barrel here, and this barrel is with a threading here for the post. Some barrels have got a set screw here, so it can fix the post in this way. Now inside this hole you see a lever there, and it is in order to release the tension when you take up the presser foot. This thread guide here follows the presser foot. In here you can see this lever for the tension release. It is going forward here. When you start to let the presser foot go down, it goes back again. And you should check that this is going on like that. This is all the parts, and of course they should be de-dusted and clean. So you can clean them using wash soda, and you should Google that if you need to do that. You never use oil on these parts. Before you assemble this again, I recommend that you check a few things. I know that the thread will be going just above this point here. So therefore you need to be sure that everything is smooth around the post here. No grooves or something like that could catch the thread. Also check that your tension discs looks good and they don't have any grooves in them or something like that. Now I'll try to assemble the tensioner again. First we put in this barrel here. This corner here is to the upper side here, and this part to the left here should flush with the outside here, and then you try to fasten it at this position. Okay, and then you put in the check spring, and the check spring should, this lock there should be about 1 o'clock position when you fasten it, and you fasten it with this post So now I'm and then I put in the screwdriver and try to fix the post like this. And now it's fixed, and I take it to the side there. This is the resting position of the check spring. And then we start to put on the tension disc with a rounded side outwards, and for this part it's the rounded side towards the machine. I need to put on this pressure release pin, tension release pin. It goes into the middle here, and then put on this part here with a bar there that goes against this pin. And then you press in with your fingers here and you lift the pressure foot, and then you notice that it can release the tension there. So that's a check you need to do. And then put on the beehive spring here and the final adjusting nut here. Okay, now we shall check the operation of the check spring. And first you feel here that it is operating freely. And then you take some thread and start to thread some part of it. And you go around here and around the check spring. And now you just feel a little that the tensioner is working, and you set it to quite a high tension here. And you feel that it's working well, and there's nothing odd in how the tensioner is doing. Then you start to thread that, and you don't thread the needle, but almost go down there. And now you start to pull, and what you see is that the check spring is operating. You should check that the check spring can move all the way back and still keep the thread without slack. When you loosen completely, it is already on the stop position here. Furthermore, you should check that when you pull down, you can at least pull down 1 centimeter more of thread here. So you shall feel that this seems to be working all right like this. This kind of tensioner is quite good. It can work up to a tension of 6 Newton, and it's about the double of a normal tensioner with a dial on or something like that. If you like to use the tensioner for even higher thread tension, you can put on a heavier beehive spring here to make it do that. But 6 Newton is quite high already. I also noticed that this tensioner do operate very good, and it's very simple in its function, and actually new leather sewing machines often have this kind of tensioner sold as they sell them today. And I think it is because this kind of tensioner is very reliable. And if you got a dial tensioner with more parts, there's more can be more issues with the tensioner. So don't be sad about this old tensioner. It is actually a very good tensioner.